Smith, Bruce. Truck fans all across the USA have a lot in common. We love to fix up and show off our trucks. For the next 60 minutes, you're going to get to see some of the finest, rarest, most outrageously creative trucks anywhere, and get to meet the proud owners. That's all in store for you right here on this special video edition of Truckin USA. The first stop on this special Truckin USA video kind of shows it all. The blending of style, fun, and innovation you can only find at the Southern California Truck Jamboree. California Truck Jamboree is one of the best events of its kind on the West Coast. You know, the California Truck Jamboree has a lot more than just late model and custom trucks. There's some great old classics like this 1941 Ford. They're in a special staging area called Vintage Meadows. This is where you'll see only pre-1960 trucks on display, and almost every one is a gem. There are other events here that seem strictly California. Carrying on with that tradition, truck hopping is a popular event that makes me wonder, who does the shock absorber work? Well, here's another California Truck Jamboree tradition, the bikini contest. Ain't California grand? Those were definitely some classic Southern California chassis. But one of the finest collections of classic chassis I ever saw was in Mason City, Iowa, at the Van Horn Museum. The Van Horn Museum is owned by Lloyd and Margaret Van Horn, and is filled with pre-1930 antique trucks and all types of trucking memorabilia. They opened the museum 5 years ago, but have been collecting and restoring these old trucks for the past 15 years. Lloyd, how did you get started collecting trucks?
Well, about 15 years ago, a friend of mine wanted me to go to an antique car auction with him. And on that auction, they had a couple old trucks. They kind of caught my eye, and I ended up buying them. And I got them home, and I got to fooling with them, and one thing led to another, and I heard of a different truck here and one there, and I guess I got hooked. Pretty soon I had more trucks than I had places to put them.
Lloyd began the work of restoring these classic trucks out behind their house. Margaret used to lend moral support. And one day, she joined in the effort.
Margaret started bringing me out sandwiches and coffee and stuff and hanging around the shop. And next thing I know, she got kind of hooked, wanted to spend a little more time with me, so she started doing the upholstery and the top work on these vehicles, covering the tops and so forth. And now I think she's hooked worse than I am. When we hear of an old truck, she's the first one that says, let's go see if we can buy it.
All the hard work and effort the Van Horns put into their museum is evident everywhere you look. They take great pride in their trucks, and like true Iowans, they take pride in anything made in Iowa.
You know, Ed, I've got a lot of rare and unusual trucks in this museum, and Iowa had its share of truck builders. For example, right here, this Galloway. It was built in Waterloo, Iowa. It's a two-cylinder truck. It's not much more than a motorized wagon.
Where did you find it?
Found it out in Pennsylvania. It'd been out there in a museum for a number of years, and after being out of the state for about 80 years, I thought it ought to come home. So we bought it, and here it is.
Was Galloway the only truck that was made in Iowa?
Oh, no, there was quite a few builders. In fact, I've got another one here in the museum. I've got a Hawkeye truck.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It was built in Sioux City. It's a four-cylinder. It's got a C-cab on it. It's a farm truck, one they use for grain and so forth. Found it in a barn out there. It's been out there for many years.
Right here in Iowa?
Right here in Sioux City, Iowa, right where it was built.
The restoration bug really bit the Van Horns as they continued to amass more trucks and truck parts. Finally, they felt it was time to share their hobby with the public.
Well, we opened it up 5 years ago. You know, I bought a few trucks. The one thing led to another. I'd hear about one here and one there. Next thing I know, I had a whole building full of these things. And we would start to turn out a truck about every 3 months. And I finally decided I ought to show these trucks to the public. So 5 years ago, we opened up, and well, this is what we've got.
Aside from the vintage relics, Lloyd and Margaret have also set up an old-time filling station and an old mechanic shop. Both add an extra air of nostalgia and history to the museum. Out of all the trucks in this museum, do you have a favorite?
Well, Ed, I believe it'd be this 1916 Buick. You know, you look that thing over, it's got the brass lights, the old buggy-type top, pure white tires. For its day, it's just a classy old truck. You know, when I found that truck out in Marion, Ohio, it had been stored in a garage for 37 years in about 3,700 pieces. The thing was in about 4 boxes. We hauled her home, and you might say started from scratch building that truck.
That's a beautiful job.
Well, we've had fun with it. Like I say, I like it. But you know, I got kind of second thoughts. We just finished a truck called a Hurlburt, built in New York. That thing's got a brass radiator. The core comes to V. It's got solid brass hubcap, solid rubber tires, and it too stands out just like this one. So I guess I'd have to flick the coin to pick my favorite truck. But, well, I still lean heavy toward the Buick.
I can understand Lloyd's difficulty in choosing his favorite truck. If too many to choose from, I'd probably change my mind every day. The Van Horn Museum is just one of the impressive collections I've seen over the years. Another incredible collection of rare and antique trucks has been assembled in Woodlawn, California by A. Wayne Hayes, better known as Pop Hayes. The first thing that strikes you when you enter the Hayes Museum is the enormity of the place. Pop Hayes has assembled the finest examples of early American-made trucks anywhere in the world. He's collected over 170 of them, representing some 87 different makes. Rare finds like the Kissel, the Sampson, the Day Elder, and the Brockway. 87-year-old Pop Hayes has had a lifelong obsession with trucks. Mr. Hayes, in all this collection, do you have a favorite truck?
Yes, I do. This 1929 Chevrolet 1.5-ton truck.
Why is this your favorite?
Because I bought it in 1929 and started in the trucking business.
So it was your first truck?
It was my first truck, and I didn't know how I was going to pay for it or anything else, because those were Depression days.
How much did a truck like this cost back then?
That cost $750. And I had $250 in my pocket, and that's all I had to my name.
Well, how did you pay for it, Phil?
Well, I charged it. I got a job, and I paid for it in 2 months.
This is Pop's most unusual truck. It's a 1922 McDonald, made in San Francisco for a very specific application. These McDonald trucks were used to unload the ships in the bay. What makes it so unusual is that it is only 15 inches off the ground. Pop's only been collecting these trucks for the past 10 years. Prior to that, he continued to run and operate his own hauling business. But he got a little antsy in retirement and been collecting trucks ever since. It's fitting that the oldest truck in Pop's collection is this 1901 Knox. 1901 is the year Pop was born, so he's witnessed the growth of the truck industry from its infancy right up to today. What's the appeal to you of the trucks? What's the obsession?
Well, I grew up with trucks. I was born in 1901. That was about the time trucks started coming to being, and automobiles. So I seen the trucks start from the beginning up. And everybody made a truck, and there was all kinds of mistakes, and good trucks and bad trucks, and that's the reason I try to get as many of these trucks as I can to try to show the public what the trucking business was when it started and what the trucks were. And so it could give most people an idea that it wasn't all running down the road here at 75 miles an hour.